Hello, welcome all to my channel. Today we are going to continue our discussion related with an DBMS. We are going to discuss our next point, that is database system versus file processing. So let's start. Uh, for example, I just want to add some kind of a bank transaction detail or some kind of an employee's detail, product detail, etc. So before invention of a computer, we can be just maintain all these records on a page. That is in a traditional way that we are going to be stored all these kind of an information. But after the invention of a computer, it become easy to store the data with the help of files. In the early days, database applications were built on the top of the files. That is, in our day-to-day life, the number of times we need to store the data in such a way that it should be easily accessible whenever it is required. In a traditional file processing system is a computer-based system in which all the information is stored in a various computer files. We are going to maintain the different file names, and within that we are storing that particular data. It stores data in a systematic way that, for example, I am going to be considered a one organization which is having the different departments. So in that way, we are going to be stored the data in a systematic way so that it can be conveniently handled. Initially, this traditional file processing system seems to be useful, but as the requirement of the data processing and the size of the data increases, these drawbacks of these systems come into the picture. It will be not given that much of a convenient way for the storing or the managing of the data on a large scale. So what the problems we faced in the traditional file processing system? We are going to be discussed over here. Let's start. So the first is nothing but data redundancy and inconsistency. Sometimes, as per the requirement, some data may be stored in a multiple files. For example, consider I have within a one college, the employees' information or the particular faculty's information is stored in the department level as well as it is stored at the institutional level. So that means one particular faculty's record is available in the two files, one at the department level and another one at the institute level. The name and the address of the employee is stored in both of these files. Means that the data gets duplicated. If such a data is increases, it leads to the higher storage and access the cost. This duplication of the data in various files is termed as data redundancy. At the same time, what we have to be faced is nothing but the inconsistency. Means within a previous example, one faculty information is stored into the two files. In some of the cases, if that data is going to be changed, that is from one file in a department level, that faculty is now changes from on another level. Only that change is carried out only at a department level, but the same changes is not carried out in the files which are stored at the institute level. That means this updation is carried out only at one file, and this will be leads to the inconsistency within that data. So these are the that means how many number of duplications you have made for that data, for many number of any changes you have to be carried out, then and then only the data correctness is mentioned. So this one, and it is not possible you have to be remembering that where that data is stored, how many times it is stored, that many times I have to be changed. So it will be not that much of going to be handled very easily, and that is leads towards the inconsistency within the data. Another problem that we have to be faced for the traditional file processing system is nothing but a limited data sharing. It is difficult to share the data in traditional file system because each application has its own private files and user have the title. User have different kinds of titles to access that kind of data. So that user have a little choice to share the data outside their own application. To share the data, we have to write down some kind of the complex program so that the data is going to be shared. Next point is nothing but the data dependence. Data dependence, it is related with some kind of the format specification. Considered, I have just maintained one file. Within that, I have just stored the data in a particular fashion. I use the commas, colon, semicolon, or tabs within that particular file. If the format of any of the file is changed, then we have to make the changes in a program which processes that file. But sometimes there may be many programs related with the same file. So same changes we have to be made for many number of program files. Missing the changes in a single program may lead to the failure of a whole application. So that one is also very, very difficult problem we have to be faced for the traditional file processing system. The next is nothing but poor data control. In a traditional file system, we does not have the centralized data control. We are not storing the data at a central location. We don't have any kind of control over that. The data is, you can say, decentralized or in a distributed format. In this system, the same field may have different names in a files of a different location. For example, the same file, the faculty detail is the file name given in one department. Same name is not get followed by the another department. So we don't have a control on that. It depends on the choice of a person, what the file is going to be carried out, what data within that, how I'm going to be served it. So it is, as this one is in a decentralized, there is a lack of central control over that, which leads to the poor data control. Another problem is nothing but a problem of security. Obviously, it is very difficult to enforce the security checks and accessing rights in a traditional file system. To the file, we have to set the password just for protection. But what if we have to give the access to only few records in a file? For example, in our database system, the project manager should be able to see all the data regarding the teams, whatever under him. The team leader should be able to see the data about his specific team. But for example, payment details of one project manager should not be accessible to this team member or any other project manager. In this conventional file processing system, the application program are added in a temporary manner, which makes it difficult to enforce the security constraint. So only just making the password is not, your security is not going to be handled at that much level. Another one is the concurrency problem. Right now, I have just told you that whatever the data is stored or whatever the processing is carried out in your system, there is no any central administration or central hold over there. Your data is decentralized or in a distributed manner. So the concurrency means that access, what is the concurrency? Concurrency means that the data is going to be accessed by the n number of users at the same time. So within the file processing system, it is not possible because that file is not centrally available. It will be available at a different location. It is available and access is given only to that particular person. And hence we have to, that means whenever the one person is working on that file, another is not able to access that file and work, update or just do any kind of an operation within that file. Next is nothing but an integrity problem. Integration means what? We are going to be collect down. That is called as an integration. But here we are not able to do this kind of a collection very easily in a file processing system. For example, let's consider there is one enterprise company which is having its own condition while maintaining the data is within that file. For example, that company just giving some kind of an ID to each employee. That ID is started with the letter as a capital E. That is the condition is maintained only by that company. But later on, if any new conditions are introduced by that company, then it is become difficult to add these constraints or the conditions again. We have to be change all the records. The file processing system does not provide any kind of a functionality to handle this situation. And that leads towards the integrity problem. And the very important point is nothing but an atomicity problem. Failure in a computer system may occur many times, and it can be carried out at any instant. It is totally unpredictable. When the failure occurs, if any transaction or if any kind of work is carried out in its midway, then it may lead to come incorrect data updation in a file system. Let's consider what I want to tell you that. Let's consider there are the two persons. We are going to be considered, they are considered the example of a bank transaction. Let's consider we have the two accounts, account A and account B. The amount in some of the way, the amount is going to be transferred from the account A to account B. Initially, the balance from the account A is accessed and debited by, let's consider the 1,000 rupees. Then when we are going to credit it into the account B, but before that system gets crashed, then and it offers the halt in a transaction. Now, this situation leads to the incorrect data updation in the balance of account A as well as on a B, because the amount is debited from the A but not credited towards the B. So within both of the accounts, some of the updation or the latest information is not going to be saved. In a file processing system, it is very, very difficult to handle such a situation to maintain this atomicity of a database. The purpose of the database management system is to solve all these problems and give the functionality to store and manage the data in the efficient and the convenient way. So whatever the points we have discussed right now, here it is going to be summarized in the form of the differentiation, that is DBMS versus file processing system. So here the first one is minimal data redundancy problem is in a DBMS, but the data redundancy problem exists on a very large scale in a file processing system. We have discussed right now. Same thing related with a data inconsistency. The accessing the data or the from the database is very, very easier in a DBMS, but it is very much comparatively difficult in the file processing system. In the DBMS, the problem of a data isolation is not found in a database system. Isolation means what? It is difficult to store the entire data within a single file. It is distributed in a different files as per the category, as per the requirement of an end user. These files may be in a different format, because of which it becomes difficult to write the application program to access the desired data from these files. So this one is nothing but called as a data isolation. This kind of a problem we don't have to be faced in a DBMS because it is centrally located data, but this point is very much serious in a file processing system. Data is in a scattered manner in a various files, and files may be of a different format. So the data isolation problem exists in a traditional file processing system. Any kind of management or some kind of modification like insert, delete, view, update, these are very much easily carried out in the database system, but that are not much easily carried out in a file processing system for the particular situation. Next one is the concurrency problem. Concurrency means what? One, at the time, the data is going to be handled by the number of users. So that is very much easily carried out within the DBMS, but it is not that much of an possible for the file processing system. Data security is more in a DBMS because only authorized person can access and modify this data. But in a file processing system, security is not that much provided at the satisfactory level. The database manager, that is, stores the relationship over here, but the file manager or the within your traditional file system, it is used to store all the relationship in the directories in a file system. So this one is just all about for the file processing system versus database management system. Thank you.